everyone, and welcome to the meeting of the Finance Committee. I call this meeting to order. All the members are present. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
To approve agenda.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is the approval of the minutes from the April 23rd meeting. I need a motion. Once we looked at it, I need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Need a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Next up is the fiscal 2021 draft proposed budget. Ms. McLam. Next is the approval of the minutes from the April.
Okay, hold on, I'm trying to get this started here. Okay. So I have updated the budget requests per our work session we had last week. I'm gonna go through again. We'll talk about the funding assumptions, our budget priorities, where we're at with our operating and capital budgets, and then we'll summarize and go through any of the items that we still are not including on the budget request. So our state and local funding assumptions haven't changed. We still are anticipating the increase in the retirement and health insurance benefit costs, as well as anticipating flat funding from the state. Right now, we're still looking at the funding levels still being at the 18-19 funding. So we'll see what happens when they come back in, when the General Assembly comes back into session, if they make any adjustments. But there still is some uncertainty about what we're going to do related to the COVID, what revenue impact that's going to have. So right now, the BOCC funding the state mandates for benefit increases in the current projected penny value at $2,792,654, with the 44.5 cents should cover those increases for state mandated benefits costs. Right now, these are our current budget priorities, and again, we have made some adjustments to a few of the slides based on the input you all had from the last budget meeting to provide additional detail. So the sustaining operation and investing in employees and investing in our future are still our current priorities to help maintain our focus as a school district to be the best that we can. So on the sustaining operations, you'll see that we've added some detail around the utility costs, as well as some of the information about the funding for each one of these pieces. One of the items that was impacted as a result of some of the additions that we've had was charter school payments. Anytime we do increase any local operating, that does impact our per pupil costs that we allocate out to the charter school students. So there is an additional line item in there for $450,000. But again, we've added detail on any of these lines, plus the additional funding that we're requesting related to those particular funding items. The same here, the one increase that change that we did make was based on your recommendations. We have included a local supplement increase of $3.2 million. That would be a $1,000 increase for each teacher. Right now, we're sitting at 17th in the state with our current local supplements as they are. So the proposal would hopefully bring us up to number 10 in the state. We've also included the local supplement increases for the school nurses and psychologists and social workers. Those increases, those categories have not had a supplement increase since 2012, and the funding associated with that was $374,000. The other item that we did add back in was the compensation market adjustment for transportation, which includes our bus drivers, safety assistants, mechanics, specialists, and managers. And we've added the detail in again with the increases, and the last time they saw increases to their salaries. With capital, the details that we've added in on the vehicles, they originally had requested 11 vehicles, and right now the funding that we have allocated here would address allowing them to purchase 7, as well as the renewals on the 50 bus cameras that they have. We've broken down the technology pieces and the laptop leases just to show our current existing leased payments, as well as the addition of the 3 through 5 grades 3 through 5, the new units, to total the $3,056,000. Also, the band uniforms and equipment, we've added the detail here that Parkwood High School would be the next round for the year 3. This will be the 3rd year we've done for the $50,000.
I have a question. On the existing laptop payments, we're in year 3 for the teacher admins and year 2 for grades 6 through 12. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So our funding from the county, this gives us a breakdown. We did talk previously about the difference in our true up funding. There has been a difference between the current year and the projection for next year. Those true up funds have been allocated by the county. They did approve that $1,238,000. So our proposed total for appropriations for next year is $125,511,000.
We received the true up funds already, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
The redirects, we have not changed any of the redirects. We're still continuing to look and evaluate, you know, as you all have requested, but we've not identified any additional items at this point. So our redirects are from instructional programming, software, transportation, and central service support that total $1,297,000 remains unchanged from the previous presentation. So here's the detail associated with all those additional line items. The total at the bottom, you'll see the increase over the current year, including the redirects, is $7.9 million. So we would have a total county appropriation request of $110,894,000. Once we look at capital, the capital request, the details for the $16.3 million, I believe, are going to be proposed at the facilities committee meeting after this. So they're working through those numbers to come up with identified projects for the 16.3, the transportation and technology for the laptops, and then the co-curricular support, the $19,713,000. So right now, as it sits, the request in excess of the $125 million that we would be submitting would be $5,097,000. That's including all the items that we just reviewed and that were added as a result of our as of the board work session. Some of the items that are still additional needs that are not included in this request remain to be the assistant director position. We've provided the detail about around where this request came from and why it's needed. We've also still anticipating potentially some increases in our SRO and off-duty pay. That is an additional need, as well as some additional compensation in staff or support staff that are not included in the current operational request. With facilities, again, they are working through and identifying the projects that are going to be requested in the 16.3. So there's still going to be some projects that were currently identified for this year's budget request that will be unfunded. Plus, there are additional vehicles that are requested with transportation. They have gone through and using the county's evaluation metrics to determine when vehicle replacements are needed, as well as technologies funding requests for the projections, funding for year 2 of the projection refresh in the schools. So these are additional items totaling 4.9, almost $5 million that are not included in the above request. And I believe that's it. Are there any
Thank you very
questions?
much.
I believe I've identified and pulled back in all the things we identified previously. So,
What happened?
oh, I quit sharing. You want me to put it back up?
Yeah, I just lost everything. Are you there?
Yeah.
I can't see anything. Nothing. Mine says post attendees Zoom. That's it.
Hold on, let me see if I can get it pulled back up.
Is anybody else seeing the screen?
No, I see all the attendees. I just no longer see the presentation.
I don't see anything on Zoom. Okay, but you can hear me, so that's okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So,
Can't see you.
you can't see me. I don't know what happened. It
Oh,
just,
we can. We can see you as well.
you can?
Yeah, we can see you and hear you.
That's bizarre. I can see nothing. Okay, so can you still? Okay, so I have a question. I think that we I think we got everything. Gary, did she get everything that you talked about last week and the rest of us talked about last week?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is this, and I had a conversation with Shauna about this. I want to make sure that we're not touching the classroom too much. And I just want to, so I understand that ADM at each school changes every year, and allotments for teachers and staff is based upon how many students are in the building at the time. But I want to make sure that I'm understanding it. So for example, Marvin Ridge High School and Weddington High School are expected to go up by about 60 students next year. If they go up by 60 students, they should get additional allotments at their schools, correct?
That's correct. To maintain the current class sizes that we have.
So we are maintaining these class sizes. Okay, yes. Okay, so if they go down a certain amount in ADM, then they would lose a teacher allotment. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding exactly what's going on. Okay. So we are keeping class sizes the same to the degree that we can. It gets more difficult in high school, but yes. Okay.
And I'll also just add, if you all saw the summary, the General Assembly did approve this past Saturday the full implementation of the K-3 class size. There was talk about delaying that for 1 year, but they did approve moving forward with that for next year. So.
Okay. Say that. Okay. Okay. I don't have any other questions on this.
I heard today that we're starting school a year early next year. Are we did we extend school by a week, or are we just starting it a week sooner? And if we are extending it, do we need to factor that into our operating budget at all? What a week's worth of running the operations costs?
Yeah, so the General Assembly Saturday approved a new start date for all schools in the state of August 17th. Now, obviously, that is contingent upon direction from state leaders, health department, et cetera, depending on where we are at that point in time. The challenge for us in that proposal and for all of us is I don't believe there has been any additional funding that has come from the General Assembly to cover that. My understanding is that we can use the teacher work days in lieu of those and use those days that we've set aside where teachers would be coming and having work days and use the funding as part of that to pay for those extra days. Or maybe the General Assembly will pick that back up. So that is kind of the direction we've been given at the state level. The challenge for us that was reported in the Charlotte Observer yesterday was we also have the RNC. And so you all as a full board had already approved our calendar to start school August 30th. And so we are still working to try to fix that somehow because obviously if we kept that in whole, we would start the 17th, go off the week of the 24th, which is the week of the RNC, then go back the week of August 30th. So there's a lot that we still need to figure out with that. I don't think we've put anything extra in the request to cover any additional expenses we would have with starting 1 week early than normal or 2 weeks early than normal. Hoping that the state is going to allocate additional funds, or if we can use relief funds that they're adding or giving to us to cover those expenses, because those funds approved by the General Assembly don't have to be spent until I believe end of next year. So we are required by the state to submit a summer learning plan that would include all of this in terms of starting early, how we're going to pay for it all, as well as a remote learning plan that would cover 5 days of remote learning. So all of that is in the mix right now. Those plans don't have to be submitted to the state until June. Obviously, we'll come to the board for approval first.
And I guess the other question that I would have is there's a bunch of appropriations from the coronavirus relief fund that got passed by the House and by the General Assembly and signed by the governor. So will we be getting any of that?
So I had a call today from DPI. They're working on doing the allocations for that, as well as coming up with additional communications. We've got two different funding sources going on right now. You've got the CARES Act money, plus you have the relief funds that were appropriated from the state. So
Right.
there are different criteria. Some of it is flexible and some of it isn't. The funding from the state that was in the House Bill 1043
Yep.
does not have flexibility. It's categorized, but we only anticipate, they only told us we would receive about 4 or 5 of those specific categories, and then others would be grant driven, where you would make an application to receive those funds. So I'm working through some of those details as you know, as we go, just to try to anticipate and start planning.
So that's some of the stuff that we don't know how much money we'll get from either the federal government or through the state, or the state money in the relief funds. And we don't know what next year's budget from the state looks like either.
Right.
So those are two things that are up in the air. So. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. Shauna, I can't remember, did we have to apply for additional federal funding to cover our deficit we're looking at in food service? Or is that,
Some of the funds that were allocated through the House Bill 1043
okay,
will address school fund. School fund.
food service?
School and food service. So they are allocating additional funding for that. It details that it would be at the reimbursement rate for your lunches and breakfasts. So hopefully it should offset the lost receipts. I think that's what it was intended to do. So
Okay.
we'll see what we get allocated.
Okay, I was going to say, is it too soon to tell if we've got enough to cover our anticipated deficit?
Well, again, they told us they would start communicating because it was just approved and signed by the governor yesterday. Their DPI is going to start working to get those funds out to us, because there is spending deadlines related to it. But it will allow for you to go back, so we could address some of those funding shortages that we've identified. So yes.
Also on the presentation, you have the additional charter school funding listed as an item. It might be nice to know underneath that, or in addition to that, how much in total, if this budget is approved, will we be paying to charter schools for that fiscal year?
Sure, I can get you those numbers.
Not just the increase. Do you know off the top of your head?
9 million, I believe. I don't know the exact number, but it's 9 million and some change right now.
It'll be about 9.5. So yeah.
That'd be a good number to add to that to show the total we'll be paying out.
I'll pull that together for the board meeting.
I'm pretty sure it was like 9.1 million, so we're close to 9.5 now. Okay, so does it, with no other questions, I need a motion to recommend the budget proposal to the full board.
Motion to recommend to the full board.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's all 4. next meeting date, we will have to see where that goes. And I will keep you up to date on that. I need a motion to adjourn.
Could I ask a question before we do?
Sure.
Please refresh my memory. What is going to be the process?
Okay.
I assume it's going to be another virtual meeting with the county to present the budget after approved by a full board?
So we'll approve this, I think we'll approve the budget tonight, and then it has to go to the county by the 15th. So I don't know, but then we could get together, or we could just present at one of the county meetings.
I know that in years past, we would send the full budget request usually by the end of this week, unless that there are substantial changes or anything else we need to do. Historically, once it's submitted to the county, we really haven't done anything past that with the county. If they wanted to entertain a joint meeting or a discussion, we're certainly open to that. I assume the board would as well. But historically, we submit the budget and then we wait to hear back from them. We've never gone to one of their meetings to make a formal presentation, I don't believe.
But we have gone to them in their meetings and answered questions that they had. But
That is correct.
We can offer it up, Gary, to the county if they would like to get together and talk about the budget, for sure.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.